manufacturing company, Toledo, Ohio. My great-grandfather started the business over 100 years ago. So we've been doing this for a long time. It's sheet metal fabrication. We make components and parts for other industries and businesses like Polaris, ATVs, Schindler Elevator, change machines, furniture parts, all kinds of metal brackets and widgets for the rest of the world, more machinery and factory type stuff. So I've my main role is kind of sales development and community outreach stuff, which I'd be pretty active with the community. But the largest hat I wear in this family business is definitely the sales and business development side of stuff.
Thank you, Matt. And I will plug Matt actually played a big role in vetting the manufacturing course for us. He even had a sister take it. So his sister approved it as well. So we definitely appreciate your expertise on that. All right, Sandeep, you want to go next?
Yeah, hey everybody. I am Sandeep Suvetti, and I'm joining you guys from East Liberty, Ohio, about 45 miles northwest of Columbus, Ohio. A little bit about myself. I am a mechanical engineer. I graduated from Michigan State University, and I hired into Honda right out of college in 2007. I just had my 15-year anniversary. I spent the first 14 years of my career doing new product development, so developing new vehicles so that they can be manufactured properly and well at meeting plant characteristics for the production facilities. And then about a year ago, I left the new model product development side and I came into the mass production business side. I am currently the quality and materials unit manager in the East Liberty Auto Plant paint department. At our East Liberty Auto Plant, we build about 250,000 vehicles every year. We build Honda CR-Vs, Acura RDXs, and Acura MDXs. It's a very large, very impressive operation, and I work with people of all kinds of backgrounds, degreed, non-degreed, you name a job, we have it, and just about anyone from any background is filling all of these roles all the way up to plant manager.
Great, thank you. All right, Daryl.
Good morning, Daryl Davis, joining you from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I also am mechanical engineering out of Texas A&M. I've worked for 2 companies in my career, 25 years with one company, and progressive roles from maintenance manager up to VP of operations, and a little stint in there on the dark side and the sales side. And now I'm with a company called M&M Industries, which is not the candy. We make plastic pails, plastic containers. And so we make pails anywhere from, say, a gallon up to 12 gallons. And we have 4 manufacturing facilities across the business. I am the chief operating officer for the business. And again, it's just injection molding plants that I manage.
Great. All right, Kenny.
Good morning, Kenny McCleary, based in the Knoxville, Tennessee area. And I work for Wyco Tire Technology. And what we do is we design and manufacture really custom solutions. I know that's a broad term, but it's what's called tooling for tire manufacturers. So the Goodyears, the Bridgestones of the world buy our products and they build their tires on them. It's very high mix, low volume environment, very specialized. And so we seldom do the same thing very many times. There's at this facility, and we're relatively small. We do business globally, but there's only about 35 employees at this facility. We run the gamut of manufacturing, complete from engineering, sales, service, all the way through fabrication, machining, and assembly. So although we're small, we cover a broad part of the spectrum. I have an engineering background, mechanical engineering, and right now I'm the vice general manager. So I get involved in engineering still, but a lot in operations as well. My background has traditionally been in the tire industry, although have been outside of that as well. I had a small business years ago building six-wheelers, which was kind of fun, amphibious six-wheelers. But yeah, and WICO is really good about trying to reach out to the community and having internships and externships as well. So.
Yeah, so we definitely appreciate you taking on some of our teachers throughout this cohort. And just panelists, just to give you a little bit of background. So we do have teachers on here from Tennessee and Ohio. These teachers range from elementary, middle, and high school. So teachers, be thinking of some questions that you want to ask. I'll start us off and ask a question, and panelists, we won't go in any specific order. Just feel free to unmute yourself and answer the question. Same goes for teachers. After this question has been answered, feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. So we have about 40 minutes here with our panelists. So we'll definitely try to make the most of it. I'll start, and I'm sure that all of you will have similar answers, but hopefully you can add on to. But let's talk about soft skills. Let's talk about what kind of soft skills would students need to know now in elementary, middle, and high school in order to better prepare them for when they were to come to you specifically in your industry.
Sure, I can start. I like to use an analogy often that I tell people, the jobs that are assigned to you are your main jobs, yes, but there's always additional stuff you can do that'll put you so far ahead of all the other workers in your field, whatever you're doing. So I always say, if I come out and line everybody up and say, I need someone to clean the bathrooms, nobody wants to clean the bathrooms. And 55 people take a step back, but one person takes a step forward and says, I got it. It's even though it's not their job, and they're that one person that says, I'm willing to do that little extra. That person is going to be the first person that gets the next big opportunity that I have going on. He's my guy or my girl that's going to be able to do that. So that kind of mentality, if they can get that in their heads, that yes, it's a bad job right now. But if you take it and you do it the best you can, no matter what it is, and you're the only one willing to step up and do it and tell your supervisor, I got you, that's going to go so far no matter what situation you're in.
Yeah, I agree. I want to build on that. So, from what Matt said, that's someone who's taking initiative to do more, kind of do that. One thing is it's over delivering. Everyone has kind of core basic job expectations, but really for anyone in any industry company, you're looking for people who kind of, they can find connections in what they do and how it translates to other groups and other works, and they find ways that they can bring more value to the team and help other people out succeed. So kind of over delivering, taking initiative, having some personal drive and motivation. It's so much more enjoyable to lead somebody who kind of runs without you asking, right? Instead of the associate who it's kind of like pushing a rope, just trying to get them to take initiative and action. But another big thing is just teamwork, kind of good communication and good teamwork skills. It's hard to see people advance and grow when their peers around them don't see them fit for that opportunity because they don't work well together.
I think these are all both great points. And additionally, I think it's important to, a little bit cliche-ish, but treat others better than you want to be treated. Treat others like you want your children to be treated. I think it's very important. The most important asset is the people. And it's extremely hard to find people at this point in time for any roles, manufacturing or service-oriented. So treating people with respect is, again, cliche-ish, but it's not something that's always done. So to me, it's extremely important on how you treat others.
Yeah, and I think that maybe add to that trust as well. Not just in you're going to tell me the truth, but that you're dependable. And one of the hallmarks of that is when you really care. The attitude of indifference, like, okay, so I made some parts and they're bad, big deal. That that kills motivation, that kills productivity. But to really, even when you make a mistake, which is fine, but you take it to heart, it's like, man, you know, what that prompts other people to do is come up and say, hey, don't let it get you down. And the fact that you've taken an interest in it and you don't have indifference shows you care. And that's what makes a good team.
Oh, and we've been talking a lot in our classes about coaching and facilitating. We've been talking about helping students understand that failing is okay and how to respond when that happens. So it was nice to hear that the panelists have kind of verified what we've been talking about over the next few days. All right, so I'm just going to open it up. Teachers, if you have a question for our panelists, please unmute.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you face in your industry that you feel kind of top the list of everything that you really have to focus on to make sure that production stays on task?
Well, I would say right now it's the competitive labor market's really tough. Everything's increasing, as we all know, groceries to gas, and to pay for the labor market. And for us as manufacturers, we still have, I think, a stigma we have to get over, that manufacturing is dark, dirty, and scary, and it's not anymore. It's very high tech. It's very clean. It takes a lot of a certain type of intellect. It's something that the students and the people going into these industries need to be proud of. And so we have to also be smart in how we approach an overall package to these individuals of compensation. It's sometimes harder for us to say, you know, work from home is not as easy when you have a press you got to operate or a laser machine you have to operate. So we have to be creative in how we can engage people, because a lot of people want their jobs nowadays to feel like they're part of something. There's for a cause, there's something bigger a part of it. And we have to make sure that we're trying to attract people and say, hey, this is a very high-tech job. Here's the results of what you're creating. Be proud of this work. And we can get involved in different things within the community as well. So that's kind of our biggest challenge, is to the attracting of the talent, and how we do it in a manufacturing space can be challenging.
And I second what Matt said, is it's hard to attract. We're trying to be an employer of choice in the area. And manufacturing just does not necessarily ring into the ears of all the individuals, whether they're graduating from high school or college or anywhere in between. We rarely see people under the age of 25 walking in the door looking for positions at this point in time. So just getting their attention. Once we've got their attention and they're in the door, we don't have a big problem of keeping people. Like Matt alluded to, it's different. It's different than even 10 years ago. Plants are air conditioned. They've got nice facilities. It's nicer than some people even keep their own houses. So it is a different mindset once we get the people in the door. But getting people to walk in the door, it's not just about pay. It's about camaraderie, teamship, working together, and then having individuals that come in with problem-solving skills. They need to want to solve problems and continue to get better and make everything around them better. So just continuous improvement as a whole.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of facing the same issue, and a lot of it right now is just it's a difficult labor market, but particularly skilled labor, labor that is mechanically inclined or understands electronics, and this isn't even to a high level. A few things that I wanted to add on some things that we've done within Honda. Scott McLemore from one of our teams within Honda, he does a lot of work with Columbus State Community College, trying to develop pathways to try to bring people into skilled trades. Like some of the big areas where we have a lot of need are in production, in our production services department. So we have so much high technology equipment everywhere throughout our production lines. When that equipment goes down, we can't produce, our line stops running. We have a aging workforce, specifically when it comes to like equipment services and technician roles, robot programmers, operators. And so we're trying to develop pathways through community college to bring people in with 2-year degrees so they can kind of better fill these roles. But we're not getting enough of those people. So one of the things we're doing is we're kind of assessing talent level and capability of normal production associates and trying to see if they have kind of an inclination and ability to try to help with some of our equipment services stuff. And we have internal programs within Honda to try to fill that gap. There was a comment about not being able to bring enough young people into manufacturing. Case in point, I'm a mechanical engineer. When I went to school, everything was design focus. So when I graduated from college, I thought I wanted to be a vehicle designer. I never really considered a job within the manufacturing facility. When I came into the manufacturing facility, just my eyes lit up, and I didn't realize that it could be so cool. Like it really is really cool. There's so many things that we do, and having worked with the design side for many years, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. I prefer to be in the manufacturing side of the business. It's a lot more exciting and dynamic and hands-on, in my opinion. We do some work with National Association of Manufacturers, NAM. And I just want to kind of throw that out there because National Association of Manufacturers is trying to create outreach programs to try to engage with teens to kind of show them opportunities that exist within manufacturing.
Yeah, I can echo the issues with trying to recruit and retain talent. We're very specialized, and there's a very long learning curve here. So when somebody does leave, it's very hard to fill, and we're not able to really benefit from somebody who's just going to give us a 3-year stint. So that's definitely a challenge. Another thing for us is competence, even from vendors and suppliers. We have machine shops that we'll vend out additional work to, and maybe we just live in a complex, very precise world, but it's astounding sometimes to how difficult it is to find a very competent shop, and whether that's in quality or just in meeting deliveries and that sort of thing. And then another thing is constant innovation. And like we heard about everything being high tech, that we're trying to run everything full tilt. And so when something does go down or when something needs replaced, it can have a lot of impact on our operation chain.
All right, I do see a couple hand raised, so we'll try to get to everybody. Nancy, I saw your hand go up first.
Okay, thank you. I'm Nancy Hamper, and I teach high school in Northeast Ohio, up in Ashtabula County. And one of the things I see that's been really beneficial was things before COVID in job shadowing, getting kids into places to get them an idea of what they wanted to do. And some of the things that I've been thinking of, knowing how colleges recruit is, but I've got a list that don't intend to go to college and then not in trade school. And for a lot of the manufacturing that are having a hard time getting and retaining employees, I'm thinking, how could I take this program and do problems that could maybe recruit for manufacturers, like from the manufacturing side? What could I do that would help a manufacturer recruit some of these kids that right now they're not, they don't want to go to college. And I see kids that are working great with, circuits and electronics. I teach, computer science. So these kids would work great in, a lot of these different things in manufacturing. If they could job shadow and, I could hand them right off into manufacturing fields, but, they would get very excited. And I could see manufacturing coming into high schools, just like colleges do, as recruiting, and they could come in as like apprentice in that sense, and start learning trades early, right in the manufacturing industry out of high school.
So
If you had some ideas that I could take, what could I do for the manufacturing industry from my end?
So I think, Nancy, what you're doing is very helpful. Inviting companies in. I've participated in several events where I've actually gone in and given videos of our company and actually took videos of some other companies in. But I've also invited teams in from high schools to see our environment, so that they're not just seeing videos. I actually have them come through the plant and do some hands-on. And at this point in time, we also take summer internships where people are taking summer jobs and coming in here and working part-time. So partnering with the right companies, I think, is important to share that information back and forth. I think the more individuals can see that, the more enticed they might be. Some people are not ready for college and may do it later, and may do it on the company's dime as well. We support that in many ways. And I've got a couple of plant managers, one that didn't have a high school diploma. I've got two other plant managers that don't even have college degrees, or don't have college degrees either. So, but they worked their way up through the business. I've got multiple people within our business that started in high school and are now supervisors or production managers. So there's growth opportunities in manufacturing as well. So I think trying to partner with the right companies, even if it's the same company year after year, to be able to present that information is very important.
Yeah, I think that having parents and teachers advertise manufacturing to students, and like we heard, that it's not dark and scary and dirty, and that it's can be a very lucrative career. For us, our machinists, our CNC machinists, are paid very well. And even in this area, it's an extremely competitive market. There's a huge shortage. And it's easy work. It's mainly pressing buttons, and you're in an air-conditioned shop, getting paid very well. No college required, and college is not required for everybody. It's not a fit for everybody. And so even when I was in school, it was college or nothing. And now we've started to see that through interacting with our local high schools and even middle schools, and then chambers of commerce, we're seeing where there is more of a push. There's more advocating for manufacturing. Here's what it is. And so, yeah, we do open our doors quite often to people who want to come in and just get a feel for it. Now, me personally, when I was in high school, I think it was my junior and senior year, there was a school to work program. So I left around lunchtime, went to school or went to work, and it counted for some credits. I credit that for my career more than just about anything, because it really got me in the door and helped me at least identify what I enjoyed. And so that I can't stress that enough. That's excellent to get that in front of students, help them dip their toes in it. They don't have to commit, but at least become familiar with it.
All right, we have a question from the chat. And it says, okay, so yeah, so this one in particular, my question is, thinking back to your educational experiences, what is something that you wish you had had the opportunity to experience during your education path that was not provided to you, but would have great benefits from in the educational or in the manufacturing field? What do you wish you would have had when you were in middle school, elementary school?
So I think like a lot of the conversation we were just having, I saw a lot of the chat going on, is getting that hands-on experience and getting into these manufacturing facilities. We also bring some STEM schools from Toledo, from the Toledo public school system, into our facility, and these are in some, I would say, at-risk neighborhoods type schools, and we get them in to see what their opportunities are. And it's just down the street from where they live and work, and they they've never been in a door like this. We we take all the obstacles, the barriers out. You know, busing I know is a big thing, so we pay for the bus. And then food is the other big thing. A lot of these kids, their only meals they get are at the school that day. So we cater a lunch for them. They come through, they work with our robots, our lasers. They get to strap on a welding helmet for the first time and weld with our welders. And it's very engaging for our employees too. So it was I was thinking about the benefit of developing a workforce from the future and cultivating that. But when they came through the first time and I saw how my employees were so proud of the welding and the things they were teaching them, working with these students, it was very engaging for our current development. So I think having that access and having business partnerships, all these teachers and schools need to reach out. And I guarantee most of these businesses will be willing to work with you and bring students in. They like being engaged with local people. We've built a relationship over the past probably 5 years now, and it just keeps growing with these schools we work with. So I think that would be an opportunity to show these kids that college isn't the only path. There's also a very lucrative path where you won't have debt and you can have a very high, good paying job, and you can get working right away. And some people are meant to be lawyers and doctors and book smart. Some people, I don't want a lawyer working on my machine because he has no idea if he's going to break it all. And I need someone that's taken apart a lawnmower and his stapler and whatever else to be working on my equipment. Those are individuals we're looking for too.
Great.
I will say just real quickly, I had the opportunity so I was good at math. So I thought I wanted to be a CPA. So my dad put me with his CPA. He told me I had to do it 2 days. I came home, that's back when you got those monitors and green bar and you get green monitors and all that stuff. So I spent a day, came home, and I said, I can't do that anymore. I told you you're gonna do it 2 days. So I went back the second day. I know now I do not, at that point in time, I was not going to be a CPA, didn't want to sit at the desk the entire time. And so I do think it's as important to find out what you don't want and what you don't like as it is to find where you do fit and what is exciting to you. So opening up doors for businesses, whether it be service oriented or manufacturing, trying to find those doors to get open, I think is important. And there are a lot of companies that do that and encourage it.
All right, so our chat's blowing up. Love it. Good to see. We'll make sure that we get to these chats, but Noah and Catherine both have their hands up. So Noah, go ahead.
My question is actually very similar to one that just popped up in the chat from Stacy. I was just wondering, what are things that we can be doing on our side of things to be preparing students skills for manufacturing? So specifically, you have a new hire who comes in, what are some of the skills that you see that they are lacking that we could be doing within education? So are they more is it a content gap? Is it a skills gap? Is it a mindset gap? So
I kind of want to jump in on that real quick. So one thing that I think about whenever I'm trying to hire someone new into the team, I don't expect them to come in with the skills that I necessarily need. I assume that it's my responsibility to teach the skills and teach the knowledge. One of the biggest turnoffs to me is just behavioral. It's hard to teach behavior. So that's when it goes to that, do they have drive? Do they have initiative? Can they communicate well? Those are some basic expectations that I have. And if you start meeting those expectations, then I think that it's my responsibility and my team's responsibility to give you the skills training you need to succeed, to understand why we're doing it. There was a comment here about a top 10 list, this builds on something that was said much earlier in the conversation. We fail every day in manufacturing, right? You cannot do two things. You can't build two products the exact same way. There's always some variation. And when you start manufacturing tens of pieces, hundreds of pieces, thousands of pieces, when you start building at volume, those little mistakes, those little differences add up, and they create a lot of product that need to be repaired or reworked That's all cost, it's all loss. Ideally in manufacturing, you do the job once, it's done well, the product is good, it goes for sale. That for us, that's profit, right? A repair inventory is all loss, it's all cost, it's mistakes that we made. We are used to making mistakes, we make them every day. A huge skill that would be beneficial is the inquisitive mindset. Basically within Honda, we just talk about root cause analysis. Until you really know what happened, until you really know what caused that failure, you can't put in an effective countermeasure to prevent that from happening again. And when manufacturing becomes high tech, when it becomes high speed, when it becomes technical, it is very difficult to find root cause countermeasure. One of the big turnoffs I have within my organization is there are a lot of people who like to jump to conclusions and they like to assume that this is the problem. And if this just happens, then it'll go away. But they don't come back with any, what's your method? Did you collect data? What's a statistically meaningful sample size? I don't care if you looked at 2 or 3 products. I want you to go out and I want you to measure or evaluate 30 products, 60 products, 90 products, come back. What are the trends you're seeing? I work in a paint department. Oh, are these defects? Do they happen to happen on red cars? Why red cars? What path did this red car take that caused the defect? Was the defect caused in the main repair booth? Or was it a defect that was created in the repair booth? So when you basically have to collect a lot of data, you sift through the data and you start to find patterns and trends. When you start to find patterns and trends, you start digging into likely sources. So we use fault tree diagrams, right? There's a fault that happens and it's this YY diagram that kind of tells you what are suspect causes that might have led to this problem or situation. Root cause is something that I expect I need to train my team on, and for the specifics within our organization. But at a high level, if students, I don't even, it's a scientific approach, but it's kind of it's an inquiry, and just keep digging and digging and digging and find out, hey, well, when I adjust this variable, did the problem go away or not? No, the problem's still there, right? Success in manufacturing, to find a person who can get to problem root cause and propose a good countermeasure, that is a rock star, and they will go very far in the organization. And that's the type of person you want to train others in your organization to kind of show that success story. And that's what you want to multiply within your team.
I saw a thing on ages and appropriateness for coming in the factory. We bring in 8th grade classes. That way, when they're going into high school, those, when we bring in an 8th grade class of 40 students, I don't expect all 40 students to be wowed by our equipment. Some will, though, and some will realize this is here locally. I could do something like this. So that way, when they go into high school, they can look into those shop classes or those mechanical classes or those engineering classes that might benefit them as they go through their high school career. But that's, to go back to the question about how can you guys help? Math is a big one. Not like super deep math, but just a basic understanding of your math facts and skills and geometries, things like that. So area, volume, cylinders, all that stuff. And then knowing how to use some simple instruments, rulers, scales, compasses, that kind of stuff. If they have that base knowledge, that's fine. And as Sandip said, I don't expect a single person in here to know how to run none of our laser machines or our press brake or anything like that. But if they have those skills, that I'm going to show up on time, I want to learn. I'm okay with failure. It happens. It's, you hear the acronym. It's the first attempt in learning. So those kind of things are fine. If those kids are ready and prepared to tackle things, we will train them on the specific equipment stuff. You guys don't have to know about anything like that, because all of our businesses and industries are very different, and the equipment that we have is so specialized. I don't expect anybody to have a basic knowledge of that. We will take care of that. But if they can, they have a knowledge of how to look at an object in 3D or read a print, even in that way, take something from a sketch to reality, whatever that might be. That's a great skill to do. So project-based learning type stuff. You know, we worked with one of the 8th grade students. They had a prairie that was being put out in their next to their yard at their schoolhouse. The local zoo was helping with the prairie, but they needed to do some storyboards to walk through the path. So they created the design. We helped them understand what some constraints were, and we helped build the design. Now we're actually building those sign displays, a metal sign display for them that will go into the project. So these project-based learning things where they start from scratch, they develop the ideas, they get to use they get to use math in a fun way and actually see it come to life. Those are the skills that you guys can help us with, and understand that, yes, yeah, we're going to fail, but that's okay. Hopefully the businesses they go to promote that. You know, it's tough when you don't want to have a business that if you fail, you get punished. There needs to be a lot more learning and growth attempts. If you fail multiple times at the same thing, then we have a problem. But the first time you do it and you learn from it, that's fine. And hopefully the businesses they go into promote that attitude. And I think if you can help teach that at your level, you know, hey, we did this project, this is what we failed at, but let's learn about that failure and not do it next time and improve it. That's a huge skill that would be great for them coming into our businesses, to understand I can take a little risk as long as I'm learning from it and I can grow from it. That's a great skill for these students to have.
Yeah, and I think teaching mindset too, or at least working with the mindset. So if you have a student who is inquisitive about something, how it's made, why is it made that way? This part, maybe it's a controller for Xbox or a chair leg. Why does it look like that? And better yet, how about we break it and see how does it fail? I know that's maybe getting into engineering a little bit, but why did they put a screw there? Why did they put this extra tab here? And kind of feeding that curiousness, because when I know for me, when I started to see that's just not an arbitrary placement of a screw or something, but it's like, okay, so that's why they did that. Then you can apply that to other things, bridges, cars. As Matt was saying about math, also, I remember there was a point when math was just a bunch of problems, a bunch of computation. And then at some point, I learned that it was an extremely useful tool that made my life easier. And so when you could see that math, how it can truly help in a real world situation, that's when it clicked for me. And all of a sudden I love math. So I don't know if it's teaching that sooner, exposing them to that sooner. And I do that with my kids as well. Instead of just forcing them to do the computation. Here's why it helps. Here's why you're doing it. It will make life easier if you can use it and learn it.
All right. Tons going on in the chat. We have 2 hands raised. Catherine, let's get to you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Catherine Vaughn. I'm an elementary art teacher that also teaches robotics and engineering from rural West Tennessee. And my question was specifically for Sandeep. I was excited when I heard auto and manufacturing it because where I live in rural Tennessee is going to be the site of the new Ford plant. It's going to be Ford's largest investment in the United States. They call it Blue Oval City, and we're going to be making electric vehicles. They just broke ground. It's really exciting. I'm looking for advice on what we kind of as a community need to do to prepare for this. Our community, our biggest employer is the school. I mean, we're cotton farmers in this area. So what advice do you have for a community like mine to prepare for this big change?
Yeah, that's actually really exciting. I think I remember reading it. I think it's a $12 billion investment that Ford is making in that community, and that's just amazing. In Columbus, we just announced a $20 billion investment that Intel is making in Northeast Columbus, and so it's another rural area that's going to turn into a high-tech manufacturing facility. So I'm confident that Ford is working with local community colleges on technical training for more technical type roles in the facility. When Honda came into Marysville, Ohio in the late 1970s, Marysville was a very, very rural community, and it's worked out well. Honda's made a massive investment in this area. We have 2 auto plants, a big test facility, a big R&D facility. Geez, that's a hard question. I feel like the technical stuff they're going to work through, but I think that kind of the gist that I'm getting in this chat is, I think for everyone, kind of seeing is believing, and you see TV shows where people are working on computers. You see TV shows where people are in an office park, right? And just doing these corporate office jobs, or you see school shows and stuff. You don't see shows where people are going and working in a manufacturing facility. I don't. I mean, it's been years since I can think of a decent movie that was not some sort of satire or something happening in a manufacturing facility. I do think that trying to find opportunities to expose kind of kids to things out there. This isn't necessarily a plug for any one person or whatever, but like specifically for Honda, there's a YouTube person called Honda Pro Jason, and he does a lot of he's an enthusiast. He does a lot of product reviews and tours. But so Honda, we just built a very expensive wind tunnel, about a $200 million wind tunnel, just a few miles away on one of our campuses here. I'm trying to get a tour there. And one of the coworkers I used to work with in my old group now works there. I reached out to him literally before this. I said, hey, Dale, when are you going to give me a tour of the wind tunnel? You know what his advice was? Go on YouTube and look at Honda Pro Jason's video, because the guy does a phenomenal job. But like, I would encourage, I don't know how much content there is on YouTube, but if there are opportunities to show little snippets or videos of kind of what's going on within production facilities, it can kind of, even if that Ford facility is years out in the future, it can start to get kids to just kind of think about what's there. I can spend days on YouTube just watching high-tech manufacturing process lines. And actually, this sounds funny. When I was in college, I got to tour a Yoplait yogurt factory in West Michigan. And it sounds, I work at a huge car plant, and I'm getting chills right now thinking about going through a yogurt factory, because you don't think yogurt production is going to be that cool, right? But I was seeing production at such high speed and volume. I couldn't believe it. You know, for Yoplait yogurt, you know, when you think about that yogurt canister, it's a lot of hollow space. So it's actually 2 separate pieces that come together, and then they're ultrasonically fused in a fraction of a second. There's a machine that squirts yogurt into this thing and into this giant circle. Like when you walk in and you just look at it, you go, wow. And they were having a big quality issue that day. They had recently launched Go-Gurt, the squeezable yogurt tubes, and Go-Gurt wasn't making it into the cardboard box that day. And there was a guy out there with a snow shovel shoveling Go-Gurt in tubes into a trash can. And I'm saying, why are you doing that? Well, because it hit the ground, it can't be sold anymore. It needs to be thrown away. And they were having a problem in their packaging line where the Go-Gurt tubes were turning 90 degrees and it was creating a log jam. And it's great that you have this high dollar, highly profitable product, but if you can't get it into a box, it can't go to customers. And so it's just, I think kind of exposure to manufacturing, high speed manufacturing, even slow speed manufacturing, I think would be really cool. And I'd say kind of give them as much exposure to as many things as you can find. I think I've seen some cool YouTube videos of robots that, you know, like the paint. I mean, heck, I could show you a video of my robots that put paint on cars. It's not the same as an art project, but you know, there's some cool things out there that I think you could find online, and then hopefully partner with local manufacturing to try to get people in the door.
All right, Nancy, you have your hand up. You don't want your hand up?
I had already asked my question.
Oh, perfect. All right, so there was a question in the chat that I wanted to get to, and it might be difficult, but we do know that there is this stigma. Let's talk a little bit about diversity. Like, how are we getting women involved? I think, our panelist is a male dominated panelist. What can we do to get girls interested in manufacturing? We've really talked about this stigma of manufacturing being dirty and scary, and we have 100 teachers in this cohort, and we're changing the mindset, and they're going to go back and change the mindset of their 30, 40, 50 something kids. So we're changing this perspective one teacher at a time, but also how do we get girls involved in this?
And I think that bringing them in and seeing our women that are working here is one of those big ways. Engaging with people like my sister, she could have sat on this panel too. Things like that, I think would help them just seeing people. I think we have 60 employees and 40 in the factory or overall 60. I think we have about 25% are women here. So there's still room that needs to go in that, and I would love to help engage in that. I don't like groupthink. Usually the best thoughts and the best ideas that come about when people have a lot of different ideas and backgrounds, and then that's when we can figure out real answers and solutions to problems, because there's so much in this world I do not know or have experienced that other people have, and those collaborations are usually the most beneficial to the group itself and the businesses that are part of. So, whatever ideas you guys have as well. But I think part of it is just showing them you can fit in. You can, as long as you have these skills to want to think and be part of it, it's not a scary place anymore.
And I want to too, I know that we talked about this in 201. I saw it pop up in the chat. But I think a barrier some of us face is that reaching out to manufacturers, they want them to be 18. So how can we go around a barrier? Is there a way to break that barrier down? I know Daryl, I think in the chat said they look for their tours to be 15 and up. Is that right? So kind of talk to us about that barrier. Like how as teachers and educators can we break that down? Because the thing is, most high school students aren't 18, or that's just kind of some seniors might be 18. So how do we go about that?
I think in some aspects, if you can get the manufacturer to come into the schools first and provide an overview, then eventually we were 18 and over originally as well. And then we realized that the actual people we were trying to get in touch with were much younger than 18. So as Matt alluded to, if you can get junior highs before they get into high school into the businesses, I think it's important. So I think first to get that broken down is to invite some of the manufacturers as a panel into the high schools. So if you could have exactly what you have set up here at a high school level and junior high level, so that the students could ask some questions and watch the videos and things like that. And then ultimately, the manufacturers will realize that is the audience that we're trying to get to.
Yeah, I think, for anyone in Ohio, I'm willing to travel and I can find a couple of people who are probably willing to travel too. I don't know how to get around the logistics of bringing people into the facility. I know I've been asked about summer work programs before. Right now, they're only offered to people who are 18 or older. We do have a lot of Honda Associates children who, when taking a break after senior year of high school, they do come and work in our facilities for a summer or two. We have done, I feel like a lot of the focus pre-COVID was a lot on STEM and STEAM type programs, Science Olympiad, different things like that within the community and within the schools, sponsoring things like First Robotics. But I think I get the sense that those aren't necessarily the kids that you think need the outreach, right? Those kids they're technologically inclined. They're going to do well for themselves. You're trying to reach out to other kids who maybe aren't participating in those programs. My wife is a librarian for Columbus Metro Libraries. We've done some Honda days at her libraries where maybe she does a career day at one of the branches, and I might come in with a box full of 3D printed parts and metal machined parts. And I just try to show people what we do and what we create, what we can do. We talk a little bit about this, they have the kids go through questionnaires, kind of, what skills or training do I need to be able to have a job in manufacturing? And so we kind of go through that. Maybe having more intentional programming, to try to reach out and maybe bring what we do into classrooms or auditoriums to try to at least have some outreach to younger kids. If we can't bring them into our facility, what do we do to come to your facilities? I know that there are a lot of passionate young men and women at Honda and all kinds of groups that would be interested in supporting something like that. So that's something I can mention to our corporate affairs group to see if that's something that they want to start.
I think for us in Tennessee, that the work-based learning program is like an umbrella. So 16-year-olds are actually covered by workers' comp as if they're 18. So that's really what allowed us to bring younger kids in. And it might be that smaller manufacturers are more able to do that. They don't have their own policies that way. One thing that we do is we talk to our current employees and just remind them that be the person that you wish you would have had when you were that age. And so when we partner them with an intern, maybe it's a high school kid, that you can really see, especially when that student has the mindset like, I want to learn. I'm not showing up like I know everything, but I really want to learn. And there's just it's wonderful to kind of see that chemistry and that handoff, and they're really trying to teach them. It's amazing because it's important, especially, America needs more manufacturing, and it's great to see. It's the future.
I just want to interject here for a second, and it goes right with Stephanie in the chat. Do companies hire teachers or previous teachers to bridge the gap between the two worlds? I mean, is that something manufacturers are willing to do? Like if a teacher comes in and is an externship with your company and they teach kindergarten, are manufacturers like willing to allow a teacher to come in and say, oh, this isn't how it's done now, but we could bring our kids in if we did this and this and this? Do you think manufacturers would be open to that?
I
Yes.
think it depend on the company. Some of the big businesses are going to be shy away from it just because of the liabilities, but I know that we would be absolutely open to it.
Yeah, we have an externship this summer.
We have one more question in the chat here, though more may pop up. This has been great, but this question says, does your company hire? No, not that one. Sorry, we just did that one. This revolves around industry certification. So a lot of high school students can work towards credentialing. Is the certification worth the investment when it comes to job placement these days? So do you look for, whenever you hire someone, are you looking to see if they already have some credentials or certification or badges that they've earned in high school?
It definitely gives them a leg up. But as mentioned earlier, that 3/4 of what they're going to learn is going to be on the job anyways. If they come in with certification, it absolutely gives them a leg up.
It depends on the role you're looking for. If I'm looking for a mechanical engineer or something, then that certification would be 100% necessary to secure that role at this company. If it's one of our entry level machine shop operator type stuff, then again, it's not going to hurt them. It's going to be pretty beneficial because they're going to have some skills for sure that surrounds. But it can be job dependent. I'd say depends on what the investment is. It's always that ROI. I don't know how much these CTE programs cost, but Autodesk and vendors, what we use here. So if you're investing in
that was what was in the chat.
Yeah, so I see that in the chat. So if they come in and they are certified in that, and that's going to be a huge advantageous check box for their skill set.
Yeah, and it also shows initiative. If they're inclined that way, they're interested, they're engaged. Yep.
All right, Yvonne, you have your hand up.
Sorry. I had a question. So I currently am a special education teacher, and I teach individuals with the alternative academic diploma so that they can graduate with a high school diploma now. And these are individuals with that aren't in the normal regular general ed classrooms environments due to certain disabilities, but are receiving their diploma. This year, the state of Tennessee, I believe, graduated their first AAD diploma kind of cohorts throughout the state of individuals. So my questions to, I guess, the industry manufacturer members is, our program is developed to do all those things like soft skills, behavior, and transition and everything. Has there been any growth in supporting individuals with disabilities, like some sort of a either, because I know the universities do it like they have someone assist them in the process, or they let them go in there and kind of internship for a little bit before they learn the process. Has there been a shift to maybe put additional services or accommodations in for individuals with disabilities within the manufacturing industry? Because they are a great asset. Literally, our program is developed to teach them hands-on soft skills and all that. And that's just my curiosity, because my cohort graduates in 2 years.
Within my quality inspection team in paint department, we have 5 or 6 individuals who are hearing impaired. And you know, for example, that's something that it's not a detriment to them being able to do their work. That they're fantastic employees, they really are. And when we have new training or communication that we need to share with them, we usually bring an outside ASL interpreter to come in to try to help deliver any non-written communication. That's something that's actually worked really well for us. But my experience is limited to hearing disabled.
I would say it's going to depend on the company, and two, there's probably more work that still honestly needs to be done in that space. But if you are a manufacturer these days and you're not looking to do things like that, you're going to be woefully behind. So we need talent, and we need talent from all sorts of areas. So we look at people with criminal records. We have a shelter house locally that has a program for manufacturing that we've hired out of. So we're looking in a lot of different vast creative spaces to bring people in, because there's talented individuals with all walks of life. And if you're not a manufacturer or any business looking in all these different pockets, you're going to miss out on some very quality applicants. So I think there's still work that needs to be done, especially with, you know, some smaller facilities like ourselves that don't have a lot of resources to understand how that program could work. But I think there's the want and desire for places like us to learn more about it and engage with those places that could help teach us how we could employ those individuals.
Thank you.
Man, you guys just filled everyone's heads with so much information. I don't know if our panelists have access to our group notes, but between the chat and the group notes and people listening, I can imagine that the teachers on the panel, the teachers listening to the panel, are probably tired. This is such great information, and we're so grateful. I'd like to invite our teachers to get off mute, say thank you.
I do have one quick comment.
Oh, sorry, Daryl.
No problem. I just want everybody, you don't think about it, but when you're out and about, or you're in a classroom, or you're sitting anywhere, everything around you had to be made. It had to be made. And when you start thinking about it, all those jobs are available out there for manufacturing. And some of them are domestic, and more of them are coming back to domestic. And many of them, many jobs are very fun and rewarding. So everything has to be made. When you look around the room, from picture frames to microphones to pens to whatever it is.
Daryl, thank you. That's a really good reminder. And hearing from you, I think that it gives us a lot of information that we can use with students in the classroom and then help shape the work that all these teachers are doing themselves. So thank you all so much for your time today. If you guys want to jump off mute and say thanks, it's real fun to hear a lot of people after listening to a bunch of silence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Our panelists, you're welcome to click leave at the bottom right of your screen. Our 101 folks are going to stay here for a while. 102 is going to move, but I just want to make sure that there's nothing for the whole group before we switch to our different places.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. This was great for us too.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you do.
Yep, let us know how we can help. Have a good day, everyone. Go win the day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
All
Super.
right. I think we are good to make the switch. So 201, I will see you over on the next Zoom. Heather, you are the host. Have fun.
See you later. Bye. Okay. And here we are. Does everybody need like a minute to stand up, run to the bathroom, refill your coffee?
Yeah.
Cool.
That was
All right.
phenomenal, by the way.
Good. I'm
Yeah.
so glad. It's today and tomorrow are my favorite days.
Yeah.
10 minutes sound okay? Cool. We're going to do 10 minutes. We're going to do 2 small group activities and then we're going to move it on down the road. So let's take 10. See you guys back here at 10:45, okay? Or 9:45, depending on where you are. Thank you. Okay, we're back. Okay, it looks like most of us are back now. So what do you guys think? You can talk to me. Helpful?
I enjoyed listening to a different perspective. My husband works in manufacturing, and he's been telling me all of those things for years. And I have tried to do some of that in my classroom on my own, but I've not had a real formal program to do it in. That makes sense. And so I really, really enjoyed listening to and to hear that it's not just what my hubby is telling me, but it's across the board.
It's just like kids, right? You can tell your kids the same thing, that if another adult shows up and says that, they hear it differently somehow. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it and found it valuable. Thanks so much for participating in the group notes. I think it's nice to just have those for later reflection and consideration. I also think that that's a fun technique to use to engage your students when you have a speaker. Some kids need a thing to do in addition to just listening. So I'm a huge fan of the collaborative notes approach for things. So I took a look yesterday at everyone's comments, and there were a lot of questions about, well, okay, I'm learning about this PBL stuff, but how do I really do it? So here's what I'll tell you about that. I didn't go through and answer all the questions like I did the day before, because there were a lot of the same questions, and I wanted to just tell you that today we're going to spend some time doing some manufacturing case studies using the engineering design process. It should be easy and fast. Then we're going to go through the PBLs from previous MEEP participants, so you guys can look and see what other people have done in the past. All those PBLs are standards aligned, which you guys have questions about. All of them have examples of hook activities that you can use. All of those PBLs have examples of what activities they did sort of along the way. So we'll give you guys a chance to look at those, and then we'll answer any other questions, and then we'll be done for the day. So are there any other technical sorts of course related, what do I do next kind of questions from where you sit right this second? Super. Hearing none, we're going to move on to the next thing. So I have to give a little bit of a disclaimer. When we wrote these case studies that I'm about to share with you, we were not in the midst of the biggest labor crisis to ever see our country in the last couple decades. So pretend when you answer these questions that there's not a labor shortage if you can, because I think it'll help you be a little bit more generative in your answers. What I'm going to do is give you 2 questions. I'm going to divide you guys into 4 groups. Each group will take, 2 groups will take 1 question. The other 2 groups will take the other question. But here's kind of the backstory about our fictitious company. So we have a fictitious company that's a steel mill that produces steel beams. The steel mill is a large division of a vertically integrated steel company that provides construction supplies, specifically I-beams, to 75% of the apartment building construction projects for a city of 1 million people. So this company is making a bunch of steel beams that are being used in apartments, okay? The steel mill, because there's a construction boom happening, they've ramped up production 5 times since the start of the year. And because they keep having to produce more beams, the employees are having to work additional hours. So we're going to use the design cycle, and we're going to do the first one together to help the steel mill solve the increased demand for labor. Okay. So we go ask, imagine, plan, test, improve. There's no create in here, but that's okay. We'll pretend it's in there. So what's the problem that needs to be solved? They need to increase the amount of labor, right? So that they can increase the amount of production. Several solutions to the problem. They could hire temporary labor, they could add additional shifts, they could outsource some of the work, they could build another plant. What solution are you going to pick? So here's some brainstorm plans. So we're going to add a 3rd shift, allow for overtime, and hire additional staff. So like a 3-part plan in this example. Determine how you're going to test the solution. We're going to pilot adding a 3rd shift, allowing overtime, and hiring additional staff for 6 months, and get feedback to see if we met the benchmark of being able to increase production. How are we going to, test and improve? We're going to examine production numbers to see if they increased. Determine if the new shift is accurately operating. Like, can these 3rd shift people get it done? So this is just an opportunity to practice. Certainly not perfect, but we have 2 more questions. The other question, there's a Google Doc that you'll record your responses on. And each group's going to make a copy of this Google Doc. I'm going to drop this in the chat. You're going to work together to brainstorm the answers, and then you're going to fill out your Google Doc. I'm going really fast. Are you guys following? Okay.
I have to back up a step and just say, we are coming into this brand new today. So a lot of this seems very foreign to me.
Okay.
I mean, we'll give it our best shot, but
absolutely.
I think maybe the other group is ahead of us because this feels like too much too soon for me.
Okay. Thanks, Shay. Sorry, guys. So in the PBL 101 cohort, or in the Ohio group, we've had some people who were supposed to be in the PBL class next week. We also had a group of employers in West Central Ohio who were doing industry tours. And so I asked a couple of our people to flex into class today. And so that's why you're seeing some new faces. We've got Shay, we've got Caitlin. Who else is here? New. Brian, right?
Right. Craig.
Yep. Sorry.
That's me.
So we're using the engineering design process to solve a problem that's in manufacturing. Don't worry, like, we'll put you in groups. If you wind up in a group that's full of Ohio people who are new, you can move yourselves to a different group, okay? Okay. Thank you for that, Shay. I forgot. I saw you earlier this morning and I was like, oh, Shay's here, but did not think that this was going to be a thing. We'll be okay though. And even if you just listen for now, it's okay. All right, going back to the slides. There's 2 case studies. Case study number 1 says production at the steel mill has been transitioning to a robotic platform option to improve efficiency. 60% of current employees do not know how to use the new technology. So how can you use the engineering design process to help get these employees onto the new technology, right? The next case study is the steel mill has lost business because their steel products have been shown to have defects. So they're manufacturing defective steel, unable to support the new building weight requirements. How can they repair their reputation damage and improve the quality of their product? So that's, I think, a little bit more complex. What I'm going to do is break you all into 4 groups, okay? Group 1 and 2 are going to do case study number 1. Group 3 and 4 are going to do case study number 2. Okay. Everyone pay attention to this. Groups 1 and 2 are case study number 1. Groups 3 and 4 are case study number 2. Let me take a second and make sure you've got things. First, in the chat, I'm going to drop, the chat window is gone. I'm looking at too many things at one time. Chat window got hidden. In the chat here, I'm going to put the template for the answer. Make sure you make a copy per group.
Do we share the copy with the rest of our group mates?
Yeah, so one person on the team will make the copy and then share their screen. And then one person can be the share of the screen and the recorder. Okay. The other thing I'm going to do is put the slides. Oh, I'm sorry. I lied. Here is the answer sheet for the, you put your answers. There's the sheet to put your answers. I'm also going to give you the link to the slides so that you can see the questions, so that you have access to the questions. Shoop. I mixed them up the first time. I'm trying again. I'm living in the design cycle. This is the slides. Okay, 2 groups. 1 answer sheet per group. Sorry, 4 groups. 1 answer sheet per group, and you'll briefly report out your solution. So you're going to have someone type your answers, and you're also going to have someone present what the group came up with. Okay. I'm going to divide you into 4 groups. Groups 1 and 2 do case study 1. Groups 3 and 4 do case study 2. I think that this should take 12 minutes. So it's 11:57, or sorry, 10:57, 11:07, 08, 09. So we're going to come back at 9 after. We've got people on 2 different time zones. So you know that like breaks my brain, plus math. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Does everybody have clear understanding of where we're headed? Okay, I'm going to send you into breakout groups. Assign automatically 4 groups. I hope that this assigns this time. And we'll go from there. See you guys in 12 minutes. I think you have to click join once you've been invited somewhere. Okay, we're kind of back. Andrea,
Yeah.
can we talk about Princess Di?
Always.
Is she your favorite?
Yes. And her and
Oh.
Princess Grace.
Oh, I keep seeing her and I was like, no, it's not her.
Yeah. No, I'm not very girly, but I do love my Princess Di and Princess Grace. So
I love that.
yeah.
You guys, it's a little bit hard, isn't it? Yeah. And of course, you know, living in the design cycle, you learn better, do better. I'm like, oh gosh, this assignment has a bunch of typos and we need to fix that template and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I feel like we at least got to the point where I heard all of you having really good discussions. It's hard. And I think one of the hardest things, you know how Sandeep was talking about root cause analysis? I think when you get down to looking at these problems, it's like, oh my gosh, what is the root cause? And is it more important to solve the quality, or is it more important to fix the reputation? But you can't fix the reputation until you fix the quality, or else people aren't going to believe you. And, you know, I think it was really neat to hear you guys work together and really think through the problem. And I think when there's multiple solutions that arise, how do you pick the one that's going to work? And if that doesn't work, at what point do you say, shoot, that's not working well enough, let's go back to one of these other solutions and walk through that? So let's hear from the groups that did the case study around moving to an automated platform first. Who's group one representative?
I can talk. So we had 60% of the workforce needing to be trained for the new robotic technology, and we also still had to maintain production. Some of the brainstorming that we talked about was using training on off days, overtime for those people that have to come in, phasing it in all at once, hands-on training while we were in during the workday. And then we kind of settled on one that we thought was a little bit more productive. We knew that 60% of the workforce was not trained, which meant 40% would have been. So we decided to use those people as coaches so that they could train on site. So you've got double, you know, almost double the amount of people that are able to train and be trained. And then in addition to that, they were going to work from home and receive a pay stipend for that, so that they could take as much online training modules and learning the procedures of those robotics, and have to then pass an online training and then a manual training with the robots so that they can prove that they are capable of using that for production as well. And then those people that have trained will then become coaches as well, that they could mentor into the next group that rolls around until everybody is trained and ready to go.
Thanks, Devin. Were there any places in your group experienced like friction, or you didn't know which way to go, or like how did you like come to the solution that you ultimately decided on?
Really just happened in the imagine portion when everybody was brainstorming, everybody was putting their thoughts down. And as we all kind of did that, we realized that there were some great answers there to help us solve the problem. We just kind of merged them together to create what we got.
I think along with that, there's some unknowns that, I mean, obviously salary increases if you're changing jobs or you're adding to your jobs or something, you know, that's kind of a little bit of incentive for employees who want to be trained. A lot of times the fear of using new technology, a lot of times will scare people in the workforce, and they'll shy away with it. We talked about maybe, you know, having the buy-in from personal experience. I've found that to be like huge. When you have somebody that's 50 years old to start learning technology, they're like, I mean, it's a whole lot different now than it was in the 80s, but that was huge. They're like, I don't want nothing to do with it, you know, so.
I mean, think back to teaching just a few years ago when people had to transition to, you know, doing like Google Classroom or an LMS or virtual teaching. And you've got your group of people that dive in and go, okay. And then you've got people who hold out and cuss and drag their feet and dig their heels in the whole time, right? That's going to be the case, I think, with any population. There's, you know, the thing called the adoption curve. And so you've got people that like are early adopters of change, and then you've got people that are laggards. And, you know, we still have people in our society that don't have cell phones. So, you know, it happens. I think, Dave, that's a really good point. And it makes everybody feel super vulnerable. Like, shoot, if I don't learn how to do this new school way, I might not be part of this team any longer. Thank you for your reflections, group one. Would you mind, please, Devin, dropping a link to your sheet in the chat so that I can add it to our group folder?
Sure.
Thank you so much. Group two, please.
I know that Nancy was going to do it, but if she wants, because she's breaking out pretty bad, I can do it.
I'll give it a try.
Okay.
Am I coming through pretty good? Is it sounding okay? All right, thumbs up. Okay. All right. Ours was very similar to group one, maybe as detailed as theirs in their training explanation, but it's very similar. And we came up with the 4 weeks as a time frame for completing the training, and also with an incentive for the employees to do their best in that training, and for those to complete the training with accuracy and to become competent in it in order to be successful. Those who did very well would have maybe either advancement, that let the companies choose one way to reward those who did well. So maybe that would help with some of those who were lagging or dragging their feet. And the time limit to hopefully get the production going back and get it online faster. So that's what we came up with. The same ideas, you know, the video training and the partner training on, you know, hands-on and simulations out in the workplace, a lot of the same things that first group came up with. But yeah, getting the staff trained in using that new software for the robotics. So, and getting them to understand it. So much of the same things in each of the phases of the process.
Thanks, Nancy.
So anyone else want to add something there?
I know one thing we talked about with watching videos and simulations and hands-on things like that, we just talked about all the different learning styles of different people. So some people may watch the videos and they're like, oh, we're ready to go. And others may watch videos and be like, no, I need to actually do it hands-on. So that's why we added on the hands-on piece. So we're just also talking about different learning styles with it.
Thank you. Good point.
Thank you so much. Okay, if one of you guys would share your thing with me, I'll add it to our group notes.
It's already in the chat.
Super, thank you. And then we will go to group 3, please.
I guess we can talk for our group.
Will you guys really talk about the problem? Because this problem's a little bit complex.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I fully understand the problem myself. So basically, there's this company and they are making beams, and the beams were not withstanding the weight load that they were required to withstand. Correct? Okay, that's what's going on. Back me up over here. Okay, so so the beams were not withstanding the weight load that they needed to withstand. They were failing.
At some point, the rules changed for this thing. So they're making this product, and then the building code changed.
Yeah.
And boom, all of a sudden, it looks like this product has defects. Like it can't withhold.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So we said, like, either we need to create a new, stronger beam, or we need to figure out how to improve the existing beam. Basically, you got to figure out what is going on with the beam, no matter what. Like, we got to figure out what the deal is with this beam. Why is it not withholding the new weight requirements? So our steps to figuring this out, we needed to figure out the problem with the existing beam. Then we needed to improve the beam itself. We also said we needed to improve our quality control to prevent the issue from happening in the future. There needed to be someone like testing along the way to make sure that this wouldn't happen in the future. And then we're also going to have to work on our PR through marketing, because we've had these beams that are failing now. Our company is not going to look good. No one's going to want to buy beams from us in the future. So then we said we're going to need to test the strength of the beam, of course, with the new load requirements once we've made a new product. And then we said we need to survey our customers after they have tried the new product to get feedback from them. And we also said there needs to be like an incentive to get new customers, because like we're going to have to give them a price reduction or something for trying our new product to get customers to come back to us. Yeah, those were our ideas. Anything else?
No. Ultimately, we just want to stay in business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And protect your reputation and then be stand by your product. Thank you so much. That was great. Let's go to group 4.
Well, group 3 stole all our answers. But yeah, we for our Imagine part, we wanted to pinpoint the issue that was causing any sort of defects, if there were any defects in the steel, if it was a human error or if it was part of our process. We talked about it could possibly be coming from where the steel, the vendor that was actually putting out the steel, if it was a bad batch. We wanted to also come up with something that would have quality control. We wanted to be able to run tests on our product and then advertise those tests to go ahead and try to help build back our reputation. We also did come up with the running a sale on the product to try to help out with that. And so, yeah, with our plan part, it sounded a lot like our Imagine part. We didn't have any, at least I don't think we had any group conflicts as we were going through everything that we came up with our Imagine. We pretty much put into our plan. And then with our testing, we come up with a quality control lab that will test the product as it comes in, as it leaves, and then we can test if the company reputation has been fixed by just looking at our sales numbers. But I did like group 3's addition of polling the customers just to see how they feel about things.
Thank you so much. So yes, we use the engineering design process to come up with a solution, but I think another big point about the solutions that you all came up with is that I don't think that any one group had a solution that was from just one discipline, right? Everybody had to get HR involved. Everybody had probably to get marketing involved at some point, either to advertise that there's like another shift running or to work on training. You had to get the tech support folks involved. If you want to run videos about new robotics, how are you going to get all these employees enrolled in the LMS that's going to teach these people about the new robotic, automated process. You're going to have to get finance involved to figure out, like, do we have enough seat licenses for all these people to learn this tech? Or finance, how much can we discount these bad steel beams, to be able to still like make enough profit to be okay, but also to start to regain customer trust. You've got engineering involved, so they're going to have to come up with the test. You've got distribution involved, like you're going to have to go back to all the people that sell your product and be like, we promised, we fixed it. Please go out and sell our beams. So, every problem requires an interdisciplinary approach. That's why STEM education, I think, started to take hold. We can't solve everything with just math. We can't solve everything with just writing. We have to work together and blend and braid those skills together to be able to solve real problems in the world. Now, these, sample questions, case studies are a little bit like Kristen and I made those up based on our very limited knowledge of manufacturing. But you can see, we know that there are tons of companies that have recalls on products. There's tons of people that I know that won't eat at Chipotle because however many years ago, they wound up with all kinds of E. coli issues. All the big like product recalls with cars and so on and so forth. I'm sure that we can all think of a number of situations where companies have had to work on some reputation management issues because they've had some sort of public failure. And we know that there's tons of companies that have overcome that. So being able to pull together an interdisciplinary team to be able to solve a problem is really important. And that's like reason number 9,000,006 why we need to teach kids how to work together in a group. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is spend some time working together and exploring together some examples of MEEP PBLs. Okay, so the Tennessee STEM Network published MEEP PBLs from people who were in MEEP in 2019. And what I'd like for you to do, I'm going to break you this time into 3 groups. And the 3 groups are going to be elementary, middle, and high school. And you'll be able to select which group you want to go into. So I know some of you like teach across grades. You'll just have to pick a group for the purpose of today, okay? It doesn't actually matter. What matters is that you have an opportunity to observe some other people's work. So there are sample PBLs on the website. I'm going to give you guys the link for that. Hold on, we've got someone coming into the room. And then you're going to pick 3, just like arbitrarily pick 3 and look at them together. Or you can decide as a group if you want to like spend some time looking independently and then pick 3 to talk about. I'll make sure you guys have plenty of time. And then we're going to do Jamboard. Has anybody used Jamboard before? Okay, we're going to do a Jamboard where you record a couple of observations and then a couple of surprises. Okay, so I observed that they used the standards. I observed whatever observations you want to make. They don't have to be like mind-blowing, literally just observations. And then things that come as a surprise to you when you look at these. So I'm going to share my screen for a second to show folks what Jamboard looks like if you've never seen it before. It's similar to Padlet, but it's also a Google product. So every one of you who are a Google school should have access to Jamboard if you want to use this with your kiddos. So I think that the easiest way to use Jamboard is to use sticky notes. So I observed teachers linking to their standards. Save. Boom. Whatever observations you want to make, okay? So as a group, you're going to look at 3 sample lessons. Each group, as a group, you only have to do 2 observations as a group and 2 surprises or learnings that you didn't expect to have about these PBLs. Make sense? Next slide shows, here are the links to all the elementary PBLs. The next slide has the links to the middle school PBLs. And then the next slide has the links to the higher grade PBLs. I'm not sure why they called it high grades instead of high school. There might be some ones that are like maybe 8th grade, I'm not sure. You all should have the link to this deck. I'll put it back in chat. And then I'll give you the link to the Jamboard. Let's see, chat, here's the slides. Any questions about this? No? Okay, and let me get you the link to the Jamboard. Okay, and it's 11:32 right now. Let's go to 11:50. And I'm going to open up 3 breakout rooms, maybe. And I'm going to need you to ask my patience for a second because I have lost my my buttons. Working on Zoom when you have 2 screens is sometimes more difficult than it needs to be. Okay, so I'm going to recreate rooms. I'm going to make there be 3 rooms. I'm going to let participants choose the room. Once I invite you to the, oh, I have to, let me see this. Hang on one sec. I'm going to rename these real quick. Elementary.
Before you go, guys, am I the only one who's not seeing the Jamboard link?
No, the Jamboard link's not on. Yeah.
Oh, hold please.
Yeah, so before you send us
No.
away, just in
Thank
case.
you. Yeah. High school. Recreate. Okay. So rooms are named. Let me get this Jamboard link for you. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. Jamboard link, you see it now?
Saying that we have to request access.
Hold please. Restricted, only people with access. Anyone with the link, hit refresh if you've opened it already and tell me if it worked. There's an anonymous Python in the Jamboard. Okay, looks like we're good to go. All right, I'm going to open the rooms. We'll go till 11:50. It looks like you guys aren't ready. I'll add more time, okay? Thank you. It didn't, oh, you're going to assign yourself. So you have to join whichever room you want to join.
Heather, I'm not seeing where to click on to join a room.
Mine says host is open breakout rooms. Please wait to be assigned.
Okay, Dave, where do you want to go?
Vegas. No,
Me
I don't.
too.
Anywhere is fine. Anywhere is fine.
Who do you teach?
I'm sorry, middle school, 8th grade. I'm sorry.
Let's go to Vegas and we'll eat steak provided by Mid-Mark. Okay.
I'm in.
Yep. All right, Dave.
You saw my comment. Sorry.
I laughed so hard. All right, I'm
I have a
sending you to
warped
middle
sense
school.
of humor. It's that maintenance in me that, you know.
I like it.
Hey, I don't see how to join either. I'm middle school.
I got you, Miranda. I'm going to send you to middle school right now. I know you're on break, but you're going.
Thanks.
I'm not
Jennifer?
I need high school.
Okay. All right.
I need high school.
Thanks, Cheryl. Nancy, where are you going? I can't hear you. Can you write it in the chat? Lauren, where do you need to go? I can't hear you, Nancy. You're gonna have to type it in the chat.
Yeah, oh, can you hear me now? High school.
Thank you. Lauren, where would you like to go?